Molo Sanbonani, hello, how's it? Good morning to this, the Tuesday edition of Vuka Nazo, your morning news analysis show. Now, a quick announcement, I will not be on air from the 5th of April to the 13th of April, owing to a religious period for me as a Jew of Pesach or Passover. Now, with that being said, I wish all Jews around the world Shach Sameach, and I know Muslims are busy with Ramadan at the moment, and the Christian folk who are watching, it'll be Easter for you too soon. So again, shout out to everybody in that regard as we praise Hashem. Now, with that religion out of the way, let me remind you as to why you're here. This is Vuka Nazo, your morning news analysis show. My name is Sihle Ngobese. A big reminder, if you're watching this on, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube, do me a favor, hit that like button, please, and share the stream. Help me reach a much wider audience. And if you are watching on YouTube in particular, then do me an even bigger favor. Hey, subscribe to the channel. Our numbers have just hit that 41,700 mark as we march to that 50,000 mark by the end of the year. So with that being said, thank you so much. Remember to like the channel. And hey, if you want to support the work that we're doing here at the show financially, it's very easy. Go to our website at bigdaddyliberty.com. There you can pledge anything between 50 to 100 Rand. 75 Rand is about the average, and you'll find a payment method that suits you. Right, enough with the jibber jabber. Let's get straight into the news. Okay, we begin here this morning. Indeed, we stick with the issue of ESKOM. You remember yesterday's Vuka Nazo. We discussed the issue of Andre de Ruyter, the former CEO, set to appear in Parliament's watchdog committee to spill the beans, name names, and actually put hard evidence down so that hopefully there will be prosecutions to the allegations he's made, of course, of the rampant corruption and maladministration in ESKOM, involving the most senior politicians down to the most lowliest employees. Now, ESKOM itself is in the news again. That same company, that same organization that politicians have made the single producer of electricity so that they can benefit corruptly from it, that same company refuses effectively to see South Africans free themselves from their bad administration and the corruption. What am I talking about? I take you to the town of Frankfurt in the Free State, where, as you might know, this town, tired of the load shedding, tired of the blackouts, decided to do something for themselves. That Mazakele spirit that I like to do, that build it yourself spirit. Now, you'd think that this would be rewarded, indeed, that maybe even politicians would reward and clap for the residents of this town taking this initiative. But no, ESKOM is very angry with this particular town for the fact that it's producing its own electricity using solar panels and is seeking to either eliminate load shedding schedules because they don't need to be load shed since they're producing their own power, or drastically reduce the load shedding schedules as per, again, the fact that they're meeting some of their own electricity demands. ESKOM very annoyed at this because, again, ESKOM, as the sole provider of electricity as mandated by politicians, wants to be in control of everything. Now, there is a court battle looming between, as I said, ESKOM and this particular town, or at least the entity that provides this solar power. And let me read from this My Broadband piece that really details what will be a rumble in the jungle in the Johannesburg High Court. Now, at the heart of the dispute is that ESKOM threatens to block the rural maintenance, which of course is the power distributor, the private power distributor for this particular town, from setting reduced load shedding schedules despite it procuring additional power, solar power that is, for Frankfurt. Rural maintenance buys electricity from 4 solar farms in the area at a lower tariff than what ESKOM charges and supplies it to the town of Mafube municipality. Now, according to the report, rural maintenance holds a 50% stake in the community-run solar power farms. The rest is owned by 20 farmers and businesses in the area. End of quote. Now, you've got to understand, ESKOM is being an absolute asshole to this particular public, and you'll have to excuse my language because it's infuriating to have these individuals, these corrupt individuals as they are, and as is being alleged, now seeking to prevent ordinary South African, salt of the earth, the faith, flag, family, and freedom type South African who seeks to do things for themselves and build this nation. ESKOM, that corrupt firm, allegedly is now trying to prevent those people from walking away from ESKOM. And you've got to understand, these particular solar power plants in Frankfurt are doing a fantastic job of providing real good amounts of electricity for the town. Let me go back to this piece to give you a sense of just how much electricity we're talking about here. Now, the solar power stations can supply about 3.7 megawatts of electricity, and when their final phase of development is complete, they'll have the capacity of about 4.2 megawatts. End of quote. Now, again, this is the kind of power that is powering the town of Frankfurt, saving businesses in that part of the world, and by extension, saving jobs. And that's exactly what ESKOM doesn't want. ESKOM is, much like its socialist and communist politicians, a believer in equal misery, or creating equality. And equal misery, of course, is the load shedding, the crippling load shedding that is destroying the very livelihoods and jobs of South Africans. That's your ESKOM, and indeed that's the organization which, again, in this week, almost as if it's trying to prove just how filthy and corrupt it is, then proceeded to not only, on the one hand, denying South Africans the ability to escape it, also now denying South Africans the ability to find out just exactly how much rot occurs in ESKOM. What am I talking about in that instance? Whilst they're denying you the ability to escape ESKOM on the one hand, on the other hand, they're denying you the ability to find out the extent of the irregular expenditure, the wasteful expenditure, and the fruitless expenditure. A lot of the expenditure that relates to the corruption at ESKOM, with the finance minister, Enoch Godongwana, effectively and rather oddly and rather dubiously granting ESKOM an exemption from reporting within its financial statements, that is, the particular reporting section around fruitless expenditure, irregular expenditure, and wasteful expenditure. Let me be quite specific, and let me go to this News 24 piece that wrote up exactly what this means. Now, that gazette, which you saw on screen, of course, was published on the last day of the financial year, provides ESKOM with an exemption from Section 55(2)(bi) of the Public Finance Management Act for 2022-23 and the following 2 years. The applicable section of the Act requires that state entities provide particulars in their annual financial statements and annual reports of, quote, any material losses through criminal conduct and any irregular expenditure and fruitless and wasteful expenditure that occurred during the financial year. End of quote. Yep, you read that right, and you saw exactly what I am shocked by in this particular instance. Politicians are basically giving ESKOM their feeding trough, if you will, the actual ability to conceal how much corruption and irregular and wasteful expenditure has happened in that entity over the last year. Isn't that ironic? Isn't it ironic that at the very same time that Andre de Ruyter is set to appear before Parliament to effectively spill the beans and give you this very information that the politicians now that are trying to help ESKOM to conceal or hide from you, that is the delicious irony of this entire week, if you will, of a debacle that is ESKOM. This is something that should be fought tooth and nail, and I would hope opposition parties would legally challenge this and take this to court, because it is absolutely unacceptable that any of these shady, shifty politicians, especially led by the finance minister in this particular instance, would even dare even intimate the idea that ESKOM should hide from you the level of rot and corruption, especially when that rot and corruption is the very reason you're sitting in load shedding and darkness. Sorry, Minister of Electricity, I'm still disagreeing with you on this one. It is corruption, damn it. All right, the DA, as you'll know, held its federal Congress over the weekend. A new leadership being elected by the party. There you have it on screen there. The federal leader, John Steenhuisen, being re-elected unanimously by the grouping there. The chairperson, Ivan Meyer, Helen Ziller retaining her position as the chairperson of the Federal Council, Dion George, and of course the rest of its leadership pack there from Abo J.P. Smith, Solly Malatsi, Anton Bradell, etc. I must say, a very strong team there under John Steenhuisen, and one which really does put the DA back in the contendership, really, of not only clawing back perhaps some of its support, but definitely giving the party some structure and proper go forward of gees, as ons sê in Afrikaans, umdlandla, as we say in Zulu. And who knows, we might see the DA really make a big showing in next year's election. Simply, as I said, based on the strength of a lot of these candidates who in their own rights are leaders in that particular party. But of course, this is South Africa, and South Africa being what it is, the elites in this country, the chattering classes, the media, the mainstream media in this country proceeded to absolutely froth at the mouth at the fact that, oh, the evil white man is the leader of the DA. Why didn't the DA pick the black woman? Blah, 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 blah. Look at how many white people there are. Whiteness this, white monopoly power that. The evils of white people, blah, blah, blah. It's... Guys, I've said this once and I've said again. The Democratic Alliance, now, you know this about me. I don't really support any political party, but I'll give this free advice to the DA. The DA, the Democratic Alliance, needs to stop listening to people who do not vote for it and will never vote for it. People who basically are sometimes the loudest individuals in giving the DA advice, the very same advice which is often very racist, anti-white, and comes from people who have a particular disdain and a dislike for white South Africans. And it's that very reason why I continue to say this, the DA needs to ignore such racist detractors and actually forge ahead with building a credible, classically liberal alternative in this country that advocates for a free, prosperous, non-racial, market-orientated and property-owning South Africa. If the DA focused just on that and focused its messaging on that, I'm pretty sure it'll do relatively well. South Africans are not obsessed by race. It is the elites in this country, the political elites, the chattering classes, the political analysts you'll see paraded in the mainstream media, and indeed the mainstream media themselves, who are the people who are obsessed with race in this country. Average South Africans couldn't give a flying fudge as to whether the mouse is caught by a black or a white cat. They just want the damn mouse to be caught. And this is the situation that we need to get to in this country as we embrace non-racialism and not the mainstream's concept of anti-racism, which is actually anti-white racism. That's the bottom line here. And with that being said, it was very interesting to see, once again, as I said, the first inaugural message that the leader of the DA then comes out with very strong messaging. One particular bit which I fully agree with John Steenhuisen, basically saying hashtag never trust a commie. Watch this.
And today, I publicly declare Julius Malema's EFF to be political enemy number one of the Democratic Alliance. And I commit the DA to fight back against the EFF at every turn, with the ultimate aim of defeating the Doomsday Coalition that could seal South Africa's fate next year. This is no longer about politics, Democrats. It's about the survival of democracy and the survival of South Africa.
Yep, John Steenhuisen is absolutely correct in saying that for the DA at least, the EFF should be their public enemy number one. The EFF are red in tooth and claw communists who basically are a pet project of the ANC. If you have the EFF, you have the ANC. It is as simple as that. And he's quite right in saying that they should focus on dismantling and destroying the EFF at the poll in as equal much as they should destroy the ANC at the poll. Because you can bet your bottom dollar that the 2024 likely coalition, if the ANC do really badly, will be with the EFF. The EFF are there as the walking stick of the ANC. And it's for that very reason I think John Steenhuisen is absolutely correct. Even though his comments had people frothing at the mouth, especially those people who are quiet supporters of the EFF and are hoping to keep the pretense going that the EFF is a opposition party. It's not. Look at the track record over the past year and a half of how the EFF have basically handed power back to the ANC. There needs to be a wholesale rejection of parties like the ANC, the EFF, and other small political parties like the Patriotic Alliance and Good, who have basically positioned themselves as being the lapdogs of the ANC. And if the DA can also clearly come out and actually say that no, it too will never enter into a coalition with the ANC, and it will rather build a often called rainbow coalition or reform coalition with other like-minded parties, then South Africa stands a real chance of seeing a genuine change of government for the better. All right, that's it for this episode of Vuka Nazo. Thank you so much for watching and staying tuned. A reminder, guys, that I won't be on air from the 5th of April to the 13th of April, but do not despair. There'll be other content that we'll try and set up for that period. But nonetheless, with that being said, thank you for watching. Hit that like button, share this particular stream, please. And remember to visit our website at bigdaddyliberty.com. Now, guys, remember any and all stories that we did here, the links of which are in the descriptor of this video. That being said, enjoy your Tuesday. Have a great day. I'll see you bright and early tomorrow for another episode of Vuka Nazo.